This video that I put together here is not been done for anyone's entertainment at all. It's been done at the request of two different congressional offices that are at least saying at this point in time that they have an intent to look carefully into the possibility of major government involvement in narcotics and drug trafficking. Specifically, the possibility of Central Intelligence agents, national security agents, high-level persons going all the way up, including presidents and vice presidents and former vice presidents of the United States, and some of the high-level cabinet members, the possibility of their involvement in narcotics trafficking. What we will include here will be some physical documentation, as well as actually presentations or interviews with major drug traffickers themselves, discussing who they were selling their drugs to for many years. It goes back decades, actually. Additionally, in this video, you're going to see some agents that have come forward and talked about flying in narcotics and with whom they were dealing. You additionally will physically hear and see some of the folks that were actually working with the major drug cartels. For example, the bookkeeper of the Cali and Medellin cartels out of Colombia, where he talks about setting up front operations for drug operations, and in conjunction with the Contras. He will be talking about how he gave millions of dollars cooperatively to them, and in return they were receiving a blind eye or assistance to fly drugs into the United States in return for their cooperation. You additionally will see paperwork from Oliver North's offices. You will see some paperwork that's never been seen before, that was redacted, that's blacked out, totally blacked out, and so that when the Congress and the Senate were looking at some of the problems around the Iran-Contra inquiry, all they saw was blacked out pages. You will see a direct connection, a reference to a drug operation that was cooperatively working out of the National Security Council with Oliver North and some of his people, etc., and the relationship, the interfacing and interrelationship between personalities. I will try to draw a connection so that you understand who was with who was that working with persons inside the White House at that level. And we will have live footage and interviews, I think, that will speak for themselves. Now, what I want to do is start off by showing you this first brief footage here. This was done by an NBC television network station affiliate. This was done in Orlando, Florida. This part was done in 1988, if I recall right. That's when it would have been. It was right after the Contra hearings. And this will explain how I, myself, originally got involved with chasing these bad guys, these bums that are attempting and are doing very well at it in the destruction of our social structure here in the United States. On the left hand, while making billions of dollars with a B for themselves on the right hand. How long it goes back, who's who and what's what, we'll get into that in a moment. First off, I want you to watch. This is a little three-part expose will somewhat explain exactly what happened to myself in 1985 and 86 and how I got involved with this ridiculous investigations that we've been pursuing for so long.
Liftoff. Many people think of the Iran-Contra affair in terms of Nicaragua and fighting communism. To them, Oliver North is a hero. Bob Fletcher thinks differently. Until last year, Bob Fletcher ran a company that made cute, furry puppets. That was before his company was taken over by an international arms smuggling ring, a ring now linked to Oliver North. Unit 2 investigative reporter John McPherson has the story.
Oliver North, facing charges of lying to Congress, came to Central Florida to support a candidate's congressional bid. 1 year ago, North sat before a congressional committee investigating arms sales and illegal support of Nicaraguan guerrillas. His testimony made him a cult hero to some. And he's getting rich. North's endorsements cost Congressman Connie Mack, for instance, $37,000. But North and his cohorts cost Bob Fletcher a lot more.
I had my company stolen from me.
Fletcher isn't a politician. He's a small businessman who watched everything he had destroyed.
Hey,
With fur and spring, Bob Fletcher built a toy animal and pandered it into a growing company called the Animal Factory, located at this office park in suburban Atlanta. Bob's animals sold like hotcakes at amusement parks. An Atlanta TV show ran a feature.
We got the idea and started doing it.
And Bob thought his dreams had come true when a holding company bought the Animal Factory and kept him on to run it. But slowly, Bob realized the men who bought his company made toys in the front room and ran an international arms smuggling operation from the back.
We received coded messages on the telex from the various parts of the world that had nothing to do with places we were dealing with, such as Pakistan and foreign countries, Angola, Geneva, Switzerland, places like that.
Some telexes weren't even coded. Like this one, the Animal Factory got about the sale of Hercules military transport planes.
The next things were that we were having visitations from military generals. We're talking retired 3-4-star major generals coming in. They would come in, they would have closed-door meetings, quick scurrying trips off to foreign countries.
The whole operation was run by this man, Gary Best, and Best wasn't caring for the toy company. He was bleeding it dry.
Finally, I went in and I just confronted Gary Best, and I said, let's not pull my leg anymore. How are you making the money that apparently is taking place here? And without batting an eye, he said, we sell armament.
From that point on, Best was open in his dealings. Bob set in on phone calls and conversations.
He came by my desk, my office area, and just threw a 4-color brochure on my desk, which was similar to this one, and said that we're going to start handling these.
It was a brochure for a Hellfire missile. Hellfire is an armor-piercing anti-tank missile made here in Orlando by Martin Marietta. Hellfire is available only to the United States Army.
I was overwhelmed, I guess is probably the best word. I just couldn't, and it was so out in front.
Meanwhile, Bob's toy company was failing. The icing on the cake came when Gary Best asked Bob if he'd like to make $2,000 a trip as a courier to Angola.
I was told that if I spoke to the wrong people, that there was a good chance that I would be killed.
Right then, Bob knew he had to get out.
This had changed a local toy manufacturer in Marietta into some kind of a James Bond situation, and that was something I certainly wasn't going to get into.
Bob abandoned his now nearly bankrupt company. He fled here to Orlando. But that is hardly the end of his story. In our next report, Bob Fletcher's part in the Iran-Contra investigation. John McPherson, News Center 2.
How did an innocent toy maker wind up as a front for international arms dealers? Well, that's what the toy maker wondered. Here's Unit 2's John McPherson with Part 2 of toy maker Bob Fletcher's tale of intrigue.
Basically, I just had my company stolen by somebody. I feel the same towards him as I would to a guy that pulled out of the shadows and put a gun to my head and stole all of my money on the street.
Bob Fletcher is talking about this man, Gary Best. Best's company, Vista, bought Bob's Atlanta toy business. But soon after, Bob found Vista dealt in toys of war, selling missiles and cargo planes, parading retired military officers through, taking mysterious phone calls and making panicked trips to Washington and all over the world. Vista even asked Bob to be a courier to Angola. Best said the arms dealing was all legal, and in fact, when Bob reported it to the FBI did nothing. All the while, Bob's company was being milked dry.
I'm a guy that used to entertain children with little toy puppets, and now on the other hand, I'm being dragged into the middle of some kind of an international mercenary and arms operation. It was just amazing.
When Best threatened